Hello everybody, welcome back to the workshop. So in this video I'm going to show you one really indispensable tool that I really couldn't do my job without, and it is this porta bandsaw. So let's flip you around and I'll talk about some of the features and why I consider this to be such an indispensable tool. Okay, so this is why I think this is an indispensable tool. This little porta bandsaw here, I can take this anywhere. This portable bandsaw, I can take this anywhere out on a job site with me. I can just chuck it right back into the back end of the Jeep or truck, no problems, and it's really handy all around the shop. So if I need to go cut something clear over there and I can't bring it over to, say, a large bandsaw, guess what? Boom. This is your friend. Say you got a big heavy piece of stock that's sitting on the back of a truck and you don't know how you're going to move it. Bam. This is your best friend. This piece here happened to be a 20-foot long, or I think it's like 14-foot long piece of bar stock. That's 1045 high carbon and an inch and a quarter square bar stock. And that right there is a pain. It's heavy, it's big, it's thick, and this portable bandsaw was able to cut it nice and beautiful, just like you see it there. So really nice clean cut on it, and that's just hand holding it. So portability, that's a huge aspect in a shop. The other thing that's great about this is it's in a small shop. So in a small shop, when I had a smaller shop, this was a perfect substitute to having a gigantic bandsaw and then a gigantic vertical bandsaw as well, because I made that bracket right there. And in fact, I've got plans for that over at our website, blacksmithpdfs.com, if you want to go check that out. But yeah, I basically made that bracket, turned that into a vertical bandsaw or horizontal. It works with a counterpart plate. Hopefully you guys can see this tube. So it works with this post here and that vise there to act as a gravity drop bandsaw. So that's just one way of making it even more versatile. And of course I made this to where it doesn't interfere with you taking this off the stand and going somewhere else with it and, you know, cutting a bunch of steel or cutting large bits of steel like you see here. So that is why this bandsaw, getting a portable bandsaw, is about the handiest tool. It's oftentimes overlooked in a blacksmith shop. You will find as you progress in your blacksmithing journey that there's no one way of just cutting steel. You're always going to have more and more options for cutting steel that will be increasingly more handy to you. Each does a thing specifically. Like for instance, this is 1045. It's not overly that high carbon, but it's also pre-annealed, so it's very soft to cut. Now say if I had to cut something that was like an axle that's already been heat treated, this won't be your go-to tool. You're going to have to get a chop saw or some sort of abrasive cutoff, you know, on an angle grinder to chop that off. So that's just one example of how this tool fulfills a very specific need. And then, you know, you'll have many other cutting options. Eventually plasma cutters and, you know, large bandsaws, small, you know, cold chop saws and everything in between. If you stay in it long enough, you'll find a need for just about all of them. But getting started with it, this is a really great addition to have in your shop, especially if you're going to do things like split crosses, you're going to do roasting fork tines, really anything that you need to split up to 6 inches in depth. This, you know, little portable saw like this is really going to do a great job. So this is a more expensive saw because it's made by Bosch. It's a really good brand. I have put this saw through the ringer. I have worked this saw to death nearly. But the GCB10-5, that's what it is. This is actually a variable speed, so I can crank it up and put on a wood blade and cut through wood, or I can slow it back down and then cut through steel. Very handy, little light on and off. Again, this is a fancier version of a bandsaw. Of course, you could buy the cheaper versions as well for a lot cheaper, and you know, they'll do the same job. And a lot of times they'll last just as long. So you don't have to necessarily pick this up, but I do encourage you to pick up even a cheap one. A lot of times you can even find these at estate sales or garage sales for dirt cheap. you know, 50 bucks or so for a really good, you know, portable bandsaw here. So if you're interested in this saw particularly, I will put an affiliate link down in the description down below. If you do click and buy something through that link, it goes to help support the channel at no additional cost to you. So full disclosure there, but I will put a link down in the description if you want to go read up on this one, and I will also put a link to a cheaper one as well. That's not this brand, that, you know, that way you can kind of get a spec comparison if you are considering adding one of these handy tools to your shop. So there you go. There's a super underrated tool in a blacksmith shop, super handy to have in a small guy's shop. You really can't beat the torque and the power that a bandsaw, that a little portable bandsaw puts out over, say, some of the larger bandsaws. Now, one thing that you really can't do with a portable saw, I'll just mention this just as a caveat here at the end. The one thing that you really can't do with a portable saw is cut like lots of stock. It's not really set up like a larger bandsaw where you can put multiples of stuff, bundle them all up, and then saw them all off at once, unless you have it strapped down to a board or something else that's clamping it, or it's really cable tied together. So that is one downside to a portable, you know, portable bandsaw versus having a larger bandsaw. But a lot of us don't have gigantic shops, so it helps in a small guy's shop to be able to have options and not be able to say, oh man, I can't fit that big bandsaw. Well, think about a portable one instead. So that's it for today. Thank you to all the channel members who make this video content possible. Thank you to all you viewers out there that have watched this content. I hope you found it enjoyable or informative. If you did, hit the like button, all the subscribe and that jazz. And as always, God bless each and every last one of you. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll catch you on the next one.